Time to go ahead and start our July 16th, 2020 CVTPO meeting. So our Central Virginia Transportation Planning meeting. And I want to welcome everyone to the meeting. Also, I do not see that Bo Wright has logged in, but wanted to welcome Bo to this board from Lynchburg City Council. He may be one of the callers, so I'm unsure. But also wanted to make everyone aware that Sarah Carter, our Amherst County Town Manager, is recovering from a car accident. So please keep her in your thoughts and prayers, okay? And so I see Bo's just logged in. So Bo, wanted to welcome you to the Central Virginia Transportation Planning Organization and to our first meeting. Y'all please bear with me as this is my first meeting as the chair. So I will try to be as eloquent as Mr. Perro was, but will probably fall short. Anyway, let's go ahead and call the meeting to order. And Ms. Cook, do we need to do a roll call?
Yes, I've got a list here if we're ready. First, I have Chris Winstead. See you here.
Good afternoon.
Bo Wright. I see Mr. John Hardy, our chair is here. Robert Hiss. Got Mr. Hiss. Frank Rogers, I believe I saw him.
Yep.
Brian Booth. Bonnie Sverchek.
Here.
See her. John Sharp. Kenny Craig. Dean Rogers. Have him as well. Jimmy Ayers. And Dwayne Tuggle. Okay, is there anyone that I did not call? Or if you could identify, especially, I think we have 2 people on the phone. If you could let us know so we could make sure we get that in the minutes.
Hi, everyone. This is Grant Sparks from the Virginia Department of Rail and Public Transportation, filling in for Dan Sonnenklar.
Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Bill White from EPR.
All right, thank you. Okay, so our first order of business is going to be to review the minutes from June 18th, 2020. Has everyone had a chance to review those minutes, and are there any recommendations for those minutes? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Thank you. Thank you, Mrs. Sverchek. So we'll do this, I guess, electronic style. If I remember right, we're going to say everyone against, please speak up. Anyone opposed to the approval of the minutes? All right, hearing none, the minutes from June 18th are approved. All right, next we have an opportunity for public comment. Ms. Cook, have we had anyone sign up for public comment?
I have not received anything. I don't know if we want to confirm with Scott. I don't believe we received anything at this time.
Okay, all right, thank you. All right. Okay, so moving right along, an update on area construction projects and smart scale applications. Chris Winstead and Rick Youngblood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can you hear me? First of all, just want to make sure.
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay, I think the first thing would be to cover smart scale update. And I would like to ask Rick Youngblood, our VDOT Lynchburg District Planner, to do that. And then I'll follow up with some brief comments about some ongoing projects. So Rick?
Hey, Mallory, if you can provide me screen share opportunity. All right, so for, I think most everybody on this call, this is a very familiar slide that I showed at the LR TAG meeting the other day. Just adapt and reuse, as we say. Update to current smart scale. This has been a very interesting round, at least to say, and we are still working through 33 applications in our district that have been submitted. Relative to the TPO area, the projects that you see listed here in no particular order are the projects that were submitted either by the TPO themselves or by our local government partners. I'll run down the list real quick and provide you my thoughts on each one of them. Candler's Mountain Interchange, that has been a long going project as far as study and analysis of the Candler's Mountain corridor, Canton Mountain Road corridor. And this is an interchange project that will raise the bridge at least 3 feet and provide additional lane capacity underneath for the expressway so that we provide better weave patterns merging on those ramps. Wards Ferry Road Roundabout at CVCC. This is from the Wards Ferry Road study conducted by the TPO years ago. And this is for safety improvements, installation of a roundabout at CVCC Drive and Wards Ferry Road. Also provides safety improvements and sidewalk pedestrian accommodations. Route 221 sidewalk improvements. This is actually in the Salem district from Route 811 to Enterprise Drive. This is about a 2-mile segment of sidewalk to complete the sidewalk pedestrian improvements in that corridor. Route 460, 811 intersection improvements. That is the concept for that intersection there is an R-cut design to provide better turning radius or turning movements and safety improvements at the intersection. Route 501 passing lanes in Campbell County. This is a long-standing project that once was a in the SYIP 6-year improvement program. And with the advent of smart scale, it is now a competing project just like all the other ones. We were privileged in round 1 to get 501 passing lanes in Halifax County. This is the second series of passing lanes as a part of that study that was conducted on that project and is supported by the 501 Coalition and so forth. Route 29 safety improvements. This is again in Campbell County. This is about a 6.6 mile section of Route 29. Last round, it was a single application in the realm of about $33 million. We decided to split this project up into 3 separate segments. They will range in price anywhere from 11 to 15, down to about 7 million, depending upon which section it is. Each project can be done independently of each other, but we feel strongly that each one of these projects are going to be very competitive. Again, this is a number of R-cut installations, access management, media enclosures that was part of a FHWA study along that corridor a number of years ago and supported by the Board of Supervisors in Campbell County. Route 29 60 safety improvements. This is on our current Route 60 study that we're doing from Powhatan all the way over through Amherst. This is for safety turning movement improvements at the interchange there at 29 and 60. It's actually a very low cost improvement, but one that will provide substantial benefit to those turning movements on that interchange location. The last project is Timberlake Road improvements at Greenview and Laxton. Anybody that's familiar with that section of road, Brookville High School, it's right at the boundaries of Campbell County and City of Lynchburg. It's our 2 highest accident locations in the district, and long overdue for any type of improvements at that location. So this is going to be about a $15 million project to improve capacity, safety, and accessibility through that corridor. So those are the projects that are TPO submitted projects, and I believe we'll have a resolution. It's next agenda item as we move forward. And what I will do now is go over our current projects as we have underway some of our high dollar projects. The very first one is the Route 221 split pairs. This is a City of Lynchburg project that was funded in Smart Scale last round. Happy to say that the NEPA has been completed and FHWA has signed off on their FONSI, which is they didn't find any substantial issues. And that allows the city to move forward with PE. And according to Lee in our discussion, they're at 30% plans, and VDOT has those in review at this current point in time. Route 221 congestion and safety improvements from Gristmill to Grays Mill Road, $8.2 million project. That is a round one smart scale access management, pedestrian improvements, safety improvements on 221. Again, this was a study that was completed by the MPO years ago and was successfully pushed towards smart scale and funded. Route 501 shoulder widening. This is underway in Campbell County. It's another section of 501 that came out of a study recommendation, and this is a $2.2 million project. Waterlick Timberlake Road intersection improvements in Campbell County. This is intersection improvements, protected left turns, and additional radii for more successful improvements and reduction of conflict points. It's a $3.2 million project. Lynbrook Road reconstruction, funded in last round of smart scale. This is, or the round before, second round. This is $11.1 million reconstruction of Lynbrook Road from just about a mile down from Route 29 all the way to Lawyers Road, new bridge, and intersection improvements there at Lawyers and Lynbrook. Woody's Lake Road construction, smart scale funded program, $7.8 million project, reconstruction of Woody's Lake, making that a much safer corridor with better access and improvements down through that to the school area. Next two projects are state of good repair projects that are forthcoming or in play. Jumbo's Bridge reconstruction. These are the east and west bridges on Route 460 where the old Jumbo's restaurant was. And this is a $25 million project. And also the Route 29 reconstruction north-south of Route 29 near the airport in Campbell County, the old Citgo station and JMJ. And that's about an $18 to $20 million project as that moves forward. So all grand total with these projects listed, we're looking at right around $113, $115 million active projects in our district, in and around our area here. Happy to answer any questions.
Anyone have any questions for Mr. Youngblood?
I have a question, Rick. It's Kenny Craig. Route 460 and 811 intersection improvements. How does that's going to score on the smart scale, do you expect?
You know, it's tough to say because each round is different. Each level of project detail is a little bit different. All I can say is the alternative intersections are one of the key methodologies by which to garner more points in smart scale. And this particular project will eliminate substantial conflict points at a high crash intersection. And due to the nature of the 460 corridor through there, the U-turn movements that would be accommodated as part of the project are somewhat already in place. But there'll be some bulb outs and all that are built as a part of that as what typically you see in an R-cut. So from a funding standpoint, I think it will score well. It is a PSI intersection, potential for safety improvement. So it's been identified as a problematic emerging intersection. And the R-cut design, with it being an alternative design standard, should help it score well.
When you say R-cut, are we talking right turn only at the intersection?
Yeah, basically what an R cut, it's a restricted turning movement. So where you have a full-fledged signalized intersection now, the signals would go out and you would have protected left turns serving 811, and then additional movements. If you're making a right off of 811, you'd go downstream right before the Dollar General, make a U-turn and come back upstream. So we have found through our study efforts that U-turn movements are safer and provide substantial clearance at those areas. And so it eliminates a number of the conflicts. You go from about 32 down to about 16 conflict points at the intersection.
Okay.
And based upon the typical turning movement counts at that location in the ADT, this really promotes 460 travel as far as the capacity aspect, and really better associates where the turning movements are taking place and protecting those turning movements and allowing them to move through.
How would one turn left on the 811 if they're going west on 460? How would they get to the left? Would they have to go?
Well,
how would that work?
If they're going towards Roanoke on 460, there would be a protected left turn bay that they would slide into in order to make that turn to go down towards the golf course and the airport.
Okay. All right. Good. Thank you.
Hey, Mallory, if you could give me screen share now while Rick is still talking, I can show a picture of an R-cut I have up that might help folks. Okay, let me bring this up for you, and then Rick can explain it again. Can folks see that?
No, nothing's come up.
All right, we're okay.
Yep, there it is.
So pretend that this road running north-south is 811, and obviously the 4-lane facility is 460. All right, Rick.
Yeah, so what you see here is, again, imagine 811 being the north-south run, east-west being 460. So if you're making a movement and you're making that turn going to 811 to where basically the sheets are sitting on the corner in that field up in the upper left corner, you would slide into this left turn lane, and then you would make your turn as associated gaps opened up in the road. Same thing coming east, serving 811, going back into Forest, you would slide into the slip lane, and as gaps open up, you would make those moves going through. So the key theory behind the R cuts is, with the reduction of the traffic signals, you will see substantial more gaps in the traffic because the traffic is continual flow through. So your movements and everything will be much more efficient in sliding through to the other areas because of the number of gaps that would be processed through. And then additional movements heading back east or west, as Scott's showing, you'd go to the U-turn movement. You'd have a bulb out there to accommodate heavy truck movements. These are somewhat of a new alternative in Virginia. However, areas like North Carolina and some places out west have used these with great success. And the R cuts that we've seen here in the state at this point have proven to be very successful as well. So as with any of the alternatives, education and experience through those will greatly enhance everybody's acceptance to them. Anytime you do any type of changes, there's always some outcry, but proven through study efforts and research that these things do work.
Yeah, these are used, and I came from Ohio 5 years ago. These super streets, as they called them there, are used in Ohio also.
That's correct.
All right, any other questions for Mr. Youngblood? All right, hearing none. Thank you, Rick. Appreciate the overview, and Scott as well. Moving on to our next agenda item is really the consideration of the resolution to support project applications submitted for smart scale funding by localities for projects within the boundaries of the Central Virginia Transportation Planning Organization. Any discussion?
John, I'd just like to point out a couple of things before folks make their vote. I think you see the list of, Rick did a great job of explaining all the projects, so I'm not going to do it again. I do want to just point out that there are 2 projects that the TPO that we as an organization have been asked to submit. One is by Bedford County, and that's the one we were just looking at, the 460 and Route 811. And then the other, we were requested by Campbell County to do the Timberlake Road from Greenview Drive to Laxton Road, basically in front of Lowe's and Brookville High School. And we were asked to submit that project as well. So we're working on applications for both of those. We have the entire list of projects attached to this resolution. We don't really have to get all of these projects endorsed by the TPO because many of them are either listed in the long range plan or are in agreement with the long range plan, but it's frankly just easier for us to put all these projects in. So there is a resolution we're asking for you guys to consider.
And one thing I'll add, Scott, if I may, these projects don't come out of thin air. These projects are all been vetted through study efforts, either arterial management plans on 460 and 29 or corridor studies such as Ward's Ferry, the Route 60 corridor. So all of these projects have gone through justification and analysis, and they've also gone through some somewhere public involvement and outreach. So by the time these projects are getting to the NPO level and gaining your support, they've already been vetted through the local community through that effort. So again, it's the quality over the quantity aspect that we try to push forward, and I'm thankful to have Scott's support and the NPO support, TPO support over this process and getting these studies completed.
Any other discussion related to the resolution?
John, this is Robert Hiss with Bedford County.
Sure.
Hey, and I don't know how this necessarily affects the resolution or doesn't, but just wanted to throw it out there that the Board of Supervisors in Bedford County have certainly reviewed the 460-811 project. I guess from the board's perspective, the jury is still a little bit out as to whether or not they are fully supportive of this. We were going to, our board is scheduled to consider this at their board meeting on July 27th. And I know this is a project being submitted by the TPO, but I imagine the TPO would also want to have the local government's, endorsement for that project too. So I'm not exactly sure how to word that. I mean, other than just saying that, may the resolution be approved pending the concurrence with, local governments or Bedford County. I'm not exactly sure how to word it yet, or even if it's necessary, but just wanted to throw that out there that there is an outside chance, but there is a chance that the Board of Supervisors may want to pool that project for reconsideration in another year.
So,
Mr.
John,
Smith?
I would just say that we've done that before. That this isn't a new situation. What I would suggest is that we, first of all, Mr. Hiss's statement going into the minutes, I think is probably enough. But we have certainly adopted resolutions with support for more projects than ended up getting submitted, and we would just make note of that. And I think having it in the minutes is adequate.
All right, so if you can clarify for me, Scott, is that a recommendation just that in the minutes it would be noted that the Bedford County Board of Supervisors is still weighing in on the support of that particular project?
That's right. I mean, frankly, any of the localities can decide to pull an application. All they've done at this point is put in pre-applications. That doesn't guarantee that they are going to move forward with full applications. So we probably won't, but we might have other projects drop out as well.
Okay. All right. Mr. Hiss, are you comfortable with that?
Yes, I am. I mean, I just want it noted that there could be an opportunity that, the Board of Supervisors may elect to pull that application. They may not, but just having that noted in the minutes, I think is sufficient.
All right, thank you. Okay, any other discussion related to the resolution? All right, hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to adopt the resolution.
Mr. Chairman, this is Frank. I make that motion.
All right, we've got a motion on the floor by Mr. Rogers. Is there a second?
Second, Bonnie.
Thank you, Ms. Verchek. All right, is there anyone opposed to the adoption of this resolution? Okay, hearing none, the resolution passes. Moving on to our next item, update on Connect Central Virginia 2045 plan progress. So if we could get an update on that, please.
Great. Scott, is there anything where Mallory gets my share screen set up?
I think I just handed it over to you, but.
Okay. Sounds good. Well, thank you everyone for having us on this afternoon. Can you all see my screen okay? Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, we'll take that slide to full screen if you could.
Yes. Okay, well, we wanted to cover a few things this afternoon. First, we had a virtual town hall event on June 30th, a couple weeks ago, and give a quick update on that. Just where we are in the planning process, discuss the draft plan we have assembled and some next steps. In terms of the town hall on June 30th, we conducted that. Just talk about that first. We conducted that online through the project website. We had, I think, up to 15 attendees on the call. A lot of that were staff members and local officials from the member governments and from VDOT staff, etc. We did have a few public members who had called in. We worked with the community access channel to have materials posted on there and played on repeat. On the project website, we directed attendees to the site where we have drafts of the projects all listed out, an interactive map where you can go and review each one of those projects. We provided a time period of July 15th for comments. We have not received comments on the site during that time. But as Rick mentioned, these projects haven't come out of nowhere. The projects that are in the higher range of scores of benefit cost ratio are projects that have been discussed for quite some time and vetted through many different processes. So it doesn't necessarily surprise us that we haven't received comments on those. And it's an update of the draft that we have of the plan. We made sure that since this is Connect Central Virginia, this goes a little beyond what long-range transportation plans have done in the past, especially really for anyone. Something that is unique to this TPO with this round of update. We have the Lynchburg Connectivity Study fully integrated into the plan as it is. It's a planning document that has 3 elements, and the LRTP is obviously the core focus of that plan, with the project lists and documentation of how we've gone through this process. Really, all the PowerPoints that you all have seen over the past year, all the different project lists, nothing necessarily new, just all that pulled into the planning document, the draft, and codified into plan form. And then the Lynchburg connectivity study in the final chapter that lays out the project lists. It also includes the recommendations laid out from that study, again, fully pulled in and integrated into that. And then finally, the rural long-range transportation plan. We do include the chapter that talks about the project evaluation process. We actually went to the rural plan and pulled in the project evaluation process from that effort. So it includes that as well. And again, that last chapter, which is chapter 8, has the project lists from the rural transportation programming area, the TPO area, which is the main focus, and then the recommendations from the connectivity study. And the real intent of this, I know we had a conversation about this, the first kickoff meeting as we started this process, is the Central Virginia TPO. And typically what you have is you have the MPO or TPO technical committee, and then you have a separate rural transportation committee for the rural area. Well, just the way that the Central Virginia region is set up, you have a combined transportation technical committee that has both rural and MPO or metropolitan areas combined. And part of this merger of the TPO versus rural program is a response to that, of just the uniqueness of how this region operates. I would think actually probably a more efficient way of operating with those together. And then the importance of the connectivity study and the weight that carries of making sure that is fully brought into this in a very real way. So not only having the strategies from the connectivity study, the goals from the LRTP and from the rural plan, not just that level brought in, but actually the recommendation level as well, and even having components of those different plans all pulled into the planning document. Just to touch base in terms of engagement, this has been a very successful engagement process, despite the fact that we've had to deal with the pandemic and the social distancing and other challenges that has brought to us in 2020. That graph up there is something that Philip made after the survey. But the 2045 TPO process for this LRTP goes well beyond what's been collected and done in previous iterations of the LRTP. Thank you again to VDOT Lynchburg District for all your efforts in pulling together the MetroQuest survey. We had about 1,000 responses there. There's a mapping function where we got nearly 2,000 points with comments on them through that. The public intercepts, that's something that we really wanted to double down on in this process as we got into 2020. We had drafts of the plan and project lists. Unfortunately, trying to set up at events when they're canceled is obviously impossible. But we did get a chance to set up a booth at Get Downtown and Centerfest. Had over 300 comments collectively between those. We had other engagement processes such as the Lynchburg Connectivity Study, where there's been interviews with stakeholders. We pulled all that in as well. Just because it was part of a different process doesn't mean that it's irrelevant. So we wanted to make sure to pull that in. We had the town hall event, as I mentioned, on June 30th. And, again, not receiving comments, I wouldn't see that as a bad thing. Again, the projects we have listed are projects that have been vetted quite a bit through many different processes. There's an overview of the comments. This is back from the surveying effort Philip White in our office put together heat maps of those comments across the region. And it focused more on safety and then alternative modes. The alternative modes, coincidentally, also was a focus of the placemaking of the connectivity study. Sorry, my 4-year-old daughter just walked in my office here. Apologies. So you can see the concentrations of comments as it relates to safety across region. Focused in, you can see kind of the Wards Road, Cambridge Mountain area there, and then I believe that's 221 Expressway on the other side. And then you have bike and ped comments, and again, you can see those concentrations is in the downtown area where that came up more often. So we took these public feedbacks, we overlaid those with the projects that we've been analyzing to help validate what we've been scoring off the scoring process that you all have reviewed and seen multiple times over the past several months. And also helped us identify a few other areas that we're logging in the plan for further study as you're looking at STARS projects, as the TPO is looking at its UPWP, as it does every year, having a list of areas to study further, to have that listed out in the UPWP. Planning process, again, we first met with this group here. It was actually a year ago. It was July 18th, so just a couple days off, but almost exactly. We identified transportation needs there during that time, talking to you all, began the engagement process that really, the public intercepts were in September, but we had already started doing some workshops in August. We presented to the LR tag for the first time. In the fall, we drafted those 2045 goals and performance measures, which really was the framework for evaluating projects through this process. We had over 100 projects that we scored through this, and if you added up the 16 performance measures, there's over a couple thousand different data entries as we're looking at each one of these projects. We approved those goals and performance measures at the beginning of this year, had that initial, what we would call a candidate list of projects. The project list had gotten narrowed slightly, I think down to 80 or so that were scored that we've been reviewing with you all, as well as the TTC. Put together the project evaluation tool, the online survey. Thank you again to VDOT Lynchburg District for spearheading that for us, giving us access to it. Of course, in the spring, we had the COVID-19 complications with the process, but we did have some benefit from that. That allowed us to refocus our efforts on really fine-tuning that project list, giving additional attention to the project descriptions, details, reviewing the project costs according to smart scale standards to make sure that those projects have a high level of confidence in terms of cost estimates. We had the town hall have a draft of the plan. I was actually emailing with Scott about that before the meeting of presenting that to him and staff to review in preparation for review by the TPO committees, the TTC and the policy board. And then another thing that I know Scott was very focused on of having this plan serve as not just a hard copy static document, but having it as an online plan that would be on a platform that's easy to use and easy to access in terms of this project, which is another unique feature of this plan. As I mentioned, we had the 5 2045 planning goals. These are the same goals from the 2040 process. These are what the policy board approved back in January. We used these performance measures to evaluate the projects over the last several months. Had multiple iterations of those, working with your staff and the local level. They've been very helpful. We had a meeting with Lynchburg staff actually a few weeks ago and really dug into those projects even more for us. The project scoring tool, you all have seen this several times, unless you're new to the board, but we had those 16 performance measures that are entered into the scoring sheets, and we develop a benefit score. We take the cost, very much like Smart Scale, and go through this multiple rounds. Part of the multiple rounds actually is if there's a project that did not score well under this methodology, it probably would not score as well as it could under Smart Scale. So the part of the uniqueness of this process also was to strengthen these plans as best we can. If there's something we can do, pull in a PSI or safety location that's just adjacent to that project, or split a project up. Rick had mentioned one of those projects that got split up into 3 pieces in a previous decision making. Those types of decisions, those are things we're looking for, and how to make these projects score as best as we can. We had, and again on the project website, and what we reviewed, the town hall is focused in on the top 30 projects. The constrained list is the list of projects that are funded. These are projects that have already received or gone through Smart Scale and are listed there. Projects that you'll see in the TIP or in the 6-year plan. But what we are doing here with the top 30 is having what we'd call like a short range element to the long range plan, or what you might call high ranking projects that can easily roll into the constrained list of projects here, and that are set up in a way to help TPO, local, and VDOT staff roll these projects into funding applications and move those forward into implementation. We had those on the website, made a few tweaks talking to Lynchburg staff, but this was the top 10 projects. A couple of these are projects that Rick had mentioned in the Smart Scale discussion. You have the projects along Candler's Mountain Road, Timberlake, you have South Amherst Highway listed in here in the top 10 projects, Forest Road, and Lynchburg Expressway listed in here as well. So again, we had the, excuse me for get a glass of water, but we had I think 80 projects that are scored with this benefit cost evaluation, and these were the ones that rose to the top according to those performance measures. Again, with those, I'll show you just a table of those in just a moment, but just wanted to show you again the project website of connectcentralvirginia2045.com. We have a Google map listed on there where you can zoom in on each one of the projects, click on those different points, and get information about each project. It shows the top 30 versus other projects that have been scored, gives their rank. And we have comment boxes there on the project website, as well as we did a promotional video ahead of the town hall that played on community access leading up to the town hall event. We also recorded the town hall meeting itself, and we have that recording edited and posted onto the project website. We edited out the dead space leading up to and afterwards, but so we have all that ready for anyone who wants to go on and watch those videos, provide additional comments. We will obviously take in any comments received after the July 15th timeline. We don't really have any additional public comments to process coming out of that town hall event, but we do have a draft of the plan, which we are vetting with staff and getting ready for review by the TPO. So I was going to show, excuse me, again, a couple of examples on the project sheet. Just an example of what we have for the high priority projects to serve as a tool, but we have the ranking of the project, the cost estimate, the benefit score through the project evaluation process, a vicinity map, so you know exactly where that is. I can say from my experience as a TPO, as an MPO staffer, Not having a vicinity map and more detail can be very frustrating when you're dealing with a long-range transportation plan. So we want this to be easy to use. We're coming at it from an MPO staffer / local staffer experience and what is the most useful format in terms of how to use this. So we have the vicinity map, an aerial of that location, a design concept that shows what we're looking at, project description, quick facts about it. We define the need of why is this project needed. We have the goals scored. So these are the goals under the performance evaluation, the scoring sheets, and it shows how the project scored compared to the total point scores. And then we are matching up each project with potential funding sources and then next steps. I don't have that part filled out right here, but so it should be one page that has everything you need to know as you're looking at these projects and looking at potential funding sources in the future. But again, different projects all ranked and laid out there. So that's our update. And Scott, I'll hand it back to you and see what questions we have.
All right, thank you, Will. Scott, are you there?
I am. I guess we would just want to see if anybody had any questions about any of that, and we'll do our best to answer.
All right, any questions from any members or any discussion relating to the Central Virginia 2045 Connect Plan? All right, thank you again, Will, appreciate that. And so next item is matters from members. We'll just give an opportunity for any members to share any important matters going on in your community related to transportation planning.
Mr. Chairman, if I would, I'd just like to share something very briefly. Again, Chris Wednesday with VDOT. I just want to simply share some facts related to some of the General Assembly actions specific to transportation funding. You may or may not be aware, and I just wanted to share those briefly. As I understand it, effective July 1st of this year, a 5 cent per gallon statewide tax went into effect, and then we are poised to have another 5 cent per gallon increase next July 1st as well. In addition to that, they have identified an additional fuel tax dedicated to construction district grant program. That is the portion of Smart Scale that is focused upon investing dollars within the specific district. And so that is looking, that is 7.6 cents per gallon, and that went into effect as well July 1st of this year. All of these gas tax increases are tied to their index. They're all tied to the CPI as well. So just simply giving you the facts, I think it's important to be sure to share that. Again, the 7.6 cent, as I understand it, any of that revenue that's generated within Lynchburg District would stay in Lynchburg District to be invested through Smart Scale through the district grant program. So I wanted to share that briefly. And I can also tell you with COVID-19, our traffic volumes are about anywhere from 10 to 15% of what they were last year this time. So we've certainly seen traffic increase a bit over the last month or so. So just wanted to share those facts and appreciate any questions I can ask or answer. I'll be happy to. Thank you.
Thank you for that update, Chris. Any questions by members for Chris concerning those tax increases? All right, thank you again, Chris. Appreciate that update. Any other matters from members? Okay, all right, hearing none. Just an informational item, a reminder that our next meeting will be scheduled for 4 p.m. on Thursday, August the 20th. So look forward to having all of you at that next meeting, but the location and format is yet to be determined. So we will get updates from Mallory concerning that once we get a little further down the road. All right, and finally, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Nobody wants to leave?
So moved.
Okay, all right. Thank you, Ms. Severcek. Anyone against or opposed that motion to adjourn? All right, hearing none, this meeting is adjourned. So thank you all for attending our July 16th Central Virginia Transportation Planning Organization meeting. Have a great weekend.